For me, God is no longer a question. God is a reality that I'm in relationship with more and more and more of the time. And I'm so thankful for that, because it is the greatest peace. It is the greatest bliss. It is the greatest healing. And right now, what I'm doing, my journey, Culturepilgrim, sense space, this network of wisdom, this network of medicine, this network of kinship and philia is holding a space for the medicine that I find through my deepest journeys with the plant medicine in life, in the trajectory of my soul in this life. I find the depths that I'm able to reach, and I seek to bring those through, and in so doing it becomes not really about me, much like an artist who gets beyond their own. Their art is no longer simply a property of their breakups, their life experiences, their struggles. They become like the roots of a tree. They become like a river. They become so immersed and intimate with the fractal, ever-branching nature of the world that we live in, that they themselves become reflections of that. They become a space of rich complexity, somehow simplified. And I think that's where the wisdom mojo kind of comes in, is when all that complexity, all that medicine, journeying, all of that insight, all of that overcoming, all of that intellectual growth, all of it gives rise to a pure simplicity, a quickness to laughter, an open-heartedness, a deeply surrendered trust in God, in life, which really opens the heart. And that makes it all rather more simple in some ways. Hence the core teachings of Christ, for example, around loving one another and becoming part of one body. This is something that's really it's been really, really important for me since going to Kumankaya several weeks ago in Quintana Roo in the jungle, Mexico. I said that kind of Trump-like. Mexico. I journeyed with 8 or 9 brothers and sisters who were called to this wild freedom retreat organized by rap wizard, facilitator, writer, author, homie Jordan Bates. And this was a journey which one does not undertake lightly. And I speak as somebody who has explored the realms of mind and spirit with psychedelic plants for 6, perhaps 7 years, really. And consequently, having journeyed with LSD, having journeyed deeply with mushrooms, increasingly in a and theological communion with God direction. This was a big one. Yeah, this was a retreat organized around 4 ceremonies in the course of a week, which included 2 ceremonies with Bufo, DMT, also known as the God molecule, the world's fastest acting and most potent rocket ship to a deep sense of surrender and being held by God. Followed by 2 sessions with ayahuasca, which I had drunk, my first in Bavaria on a mountainside in, what year was that? May 2022. So it had been at least a year and a half since that first ceremony, and boy, was it different. My journey into relationship with Christ and of wrestling deeply with Christianity and integrating the elements of it that need to be integrated. I was able to so bring that forth and be like energetically, spiritually armed with this alliance with Christ and with God, and with like a year and a half of pretty regular prayerfulness under my belt. And yeah, I was able to bring Christ into the space of the plant medicine. And from the beginning of the Bufo, I was already having a deep communion with God that was similar in depth to the deepest I had ever been prior to that, on a really profound mystical journey that myself and Hannah, my former partner, undertook, and was really the cause of my eventually coming into relationship with God and coming into prayer, was as a consequence of where I had been taken and gone on that journey. So the Bufo took us deep, and we were very well held by humble, dare I say saintly, very funny French man named Remy, who was a former decades-long monk and consequently Shipibo-trained curandera, shaman, healer. So the Bufo was like the most beautiful release I've ever experienced. And I took it with 3 brothers, all of whom were part of a brotherhood men's circle that Jordan Bates organized and that I participated in for about 5 months, and met incredible men and also facilitated some dialogos for. And so we 3 brothers were in the Manoka, which is the ceremony space, and Remy the shaman comes and leads us through a breathing exercise. Breathing in light, breathing in life. Breathing out all that we want to let go of. And he says, keep going until I come to serve you. I'm sitting on the mat. I've just had a wonderful massage prior, so I'm quite relaxed. And I've had a prayer with my brother Jacob, who I met on the retreat. And we've both prayed prior, and we're feeling really in a good place to surrender to this medicine. And he brings the beaker over with the bufo, vaporizes the bufo with a blowtorch, and then inserts a straw into the sealed beaker, which we then inhale much like a bong rip, but categorically different in quality, a different kind of vapor, really, a very unique vapor. And as you breathe the bufo vapor in, it begins to fill your lungs, and it reaches, into the back of the space of the breath. The whole of the body, the whole of reality, the whole of the outside of us opens, and there's a profound lightness that comes upon you. You feel like you're almost just gently floating in that upright position, but more than likely you then feel like, it's time to gently lay down. And when you do lay down, you really begin to breathe. And at this depth of surrender, you really don't have to try to breathe. Breathing is simply happening through you, like a baby. And with that same soft, open belly of the baby, the belly of total trust in life. What unfolds from there is perhaps beyond the scope of this description, but in any case, the following temporal 30 minutes and experiential, timeless duration, many pains, many anguishes let go, and out of that, new space in one's being, in one's body. And what became apparent during the first ayahuasca ceremony was that my journey into the masculine, to the shadow masculine, into deeper realization of myself, and also into prayer, had given me a much greater degree of agency in relationship to the medicine and in relationship to the feminine more broadly, where previously I may have been more bowled over and in a certain way like the mother ayahuasca spirit was really fully leading the way. This time I really underwent a long process at the outset of commanding and using my commanding energy to guide the spirit and to create the right context for the medicine to work. So I spoke to myself during the first several hours of the ceremony, with my permission, heal this body. With my permission, heal this body. In Jesus' name, heal this body. In Jesus' name, heal this body. In Jesus' name, heal this body. And I continued like this, and as I did so, I invited the medicine in, and very gradually the medicine began to move me, began to move my body, starting with a little shake in the leg, maybe in the foot. It's almost like the human body was highly sophisticated alien technology and the way that the intelligence of the medicine would begin to work with, to wake up, to scan and heal the body, is through this alien yet deeply human process. So she begins to move the legs, and when I say she, it's that you're not directing what's going to happen, you're moving with it. It's like a flow state of emergent energetic activation. And as that unfolds, what happens is the Aya spirit just begins to take parts of the body. The hand raises up, the hand rolls left to right. The fingers move, they unfold, they stretch, they form really interesting shapes that they never usually form. And the way that this occurs is not through you directing it, it's simply happening through and with you. And so as this occurs, the hand begins to move in prayer for me. I start to make a kind of cross shape, but really only the vertical and the horizontal axis, almost like an L shape, on the side and up, these crosses. And as I would cross, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, heal this body. And I would think this body, like beginning with my own body, but as I was more with the medicine, I was able to shift that notion to the body of the whole of the group doing the medicine, that we are one collective body. And this is something that I really found through ayahuasca in a way, because it's such a sense of bodily intimacy in the space of the ayahuasca ceremony, when you are all in this auditory sensitized state. So it was very interesting too. It was very interesting too when one of the other group members was having a difficult experience for the first period of the ceremony. And I wouldn't say difficult, like a really bad experience or like a panic attack, but more he was just like talking to himself aloud for quite a long time, and you could kind of tell he was like somewhere between, something was going between the head and the body, like it wasn't totally rooted in that time. And I just felt my hand just like lifting up like an instrument, like a detecting instrument, and kind of shaking and wiggling and then coming up and activating, and then just like sensing by itself towards whomever was struggling, and just like feeling towards them in the room with my hand, the rest of my body prone. And then from that place, again, these little crosses, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name, heal this brother, in Jesus' name, heal this brother, in Jesus' name, heal this brother, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And that was really a powerful education. Like I've never done that before. And it just came through. And that was how the first ceremony started. The first ceremony continued with a kind of round robin process of visiting not every relationship, but a lot of the relationships in my life. It was like ayahuasca, like scanning through the web of my life, like finding where's the medicine kind of needed, like what's going on more deeply. And it just take me through all these friendships and areas where there's like love that's not flowing. And that was really powerful kind of active life reappraisal medicine process that I've never experienced in that way either. I actually can't remember what happened in the second half of the first ceremony, except to say that it was incredibly powerful experience, and the process of purge and release of my body was profound and ongoing feature for upwards of 5, maybe 6 hours, and continued after the ceremony had ended. So I was blown away. I was truly blown away. And so going into the second night, I knew what I was in for, but I had a deep trust in what we were doing. I had gone into that ceremony in significant part because of a deep fissure, a split in my heart, and consequently in my mind, around a breakup, around a lost friendship. And that split, I could feel I was just like starting to work towards that during the course of the first night, just like touching on it, circling around, like showing me some scenes that related to that, and then it would continue on to everything else in my life. And I was like, we're not gonna fix this by going into it directly, like really brutally. We're gonna like mandala, like ring around the thing in order to change it, which is really interesting from like a philosophy of healing standpoint. So in the second night, took a large cup on the initial round. The first night we had 2 rounds, a smaller cup and a larger cup for those who wanted. The second night I went straight with the larger cup. And with relative immediacy, I was back in this new frontier of medicine, where my body is just like doing it all by itself. And it's very strange, it's very curious, it's profound. I've been thinking a lot about how in our culture the narrative of like exorcisms and like the imagery of exorcism and exorcism movies is really saturated. And then there's also like the imagery of certain kinds of Christian worship, like Christian arena worship healings, where people go into that shaking with spirit kind of on the floor sort of thing. Very funny track with a music video for that by I think Benny Hill. But this is like a third thing that's not those things. It's different. It has a deep subtlety. It has a deep kind of specificity. It feels like a very refined instrument, like it knows. There's like a deep intelligence with which it's working, and you can sense that. And it's self-evident that you're experiencing something of like profound intelligence is working with your body. And one of the most profound features of this new frontier of medicine for me is the way that the wisdom of ayahuasca, the spirit of ayahuasca, and subsequently the spirit of psilocybin, since working with the ayahuasca, both of them affording this deeply wise, intelligent, non-rational activation and healing of the body. It feels like when I am in that space of medicine, my whole core of my body becomes a three-dimensional, almost like an astrolabe kind of instrument, like a multi-axial rotating instrument, which is understood by the wisdom of the medicine and the spirit of these plants and the body itself. And how this actually experientially looks like is like my hips raising up off the ground, and then a complex sequence of muscle alterations, contractions, relaxations, all serves to move different parts of my legs, pelvis, and ultimately my belly. And it wiggles it around, and it feels like a scientific instrument, like your hips and your belly, like it's moving your hips around on different axes, and as it's doing that, it's like shifting the contents of your gut, and it feels almost like panning for gold, like ayahuasca is like panning for trauma, panning for stuck energy inside of the body, and like actually where that resides for the most part is in the gut. Like the gut is far more deep, far more important and central to a human being than we have been told. And so it shakes and it pans and it rotates, and it's like, ooh, left 3 degrees left, 4 degrees up, 7 degrees across, like wiggle, 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 7 degrees down, wiggle, 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 wiggle. And as it does that, it like finds what it's looking for, like it finds something in the gut, like some information that's held there that is that wants to like be brought forth, and it brings it forth, and like from that place then you have the vision, or it takes you to a particular relationship, or it may well be something that's not personal to you. It may be your relationship to collective field, collective reality, events in the world, things that are actually really bearing on you on some deep level. And then the movement continues, and the body is like, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to bring it to the surface and think it through. It's like it brings it forth through this highly dynamic bodily process, and then from that place it then is working through it, and it's wiggling it out, and your being informed about what to do next without having to plan it. And that might be shaking, or it might be lying still, it might be deeply breathing, it might be making certain sounds that help to like release, move that energy. And all of those things are happening. And then the journey continues, and you experience great moments of relief and release and connectedness with God. But it doesn't stop there. Like, it continues to teach, it continues to heal, it continues to do the work. Which means you're really with the medicine for a long time. You're not necessarily tired either. It's a little bit like two lovers who have, it's like a very horny young couple who get together and they just have relentless appetite for lovemaking. When they first get together and they're just crazy at it. There's a certain amusing similarity here with ayahuasca and with the medicine space for me at this point, is that like I just understand so deeply that this is love, and this is healing, and this is actually like my greatest service, my greatest gift in some way, is to undergo this work on behalf of life, as a vessel of the divine, and so I just feel like a preparedness to go as far as I need to go, and in that space also to like maintain that sovereign command, to not get carried away by feminine energies in the medicine within myself. And as I move through that space, also to confront and engage in spiritual combat or dialogue with various things that arise. And I think as you get further into this work, those get a little bit more strange. And for me last night, I definitely had like kind of insect energies coming in, and I was quite ambivalent, like how to relate to this like fly, ant, like, or like, mantis, like all of those things were like moving, and I was really unsure like how to relate to this. But it was like I could feel it like coming into my like I've been told before that it's, if like an animal energy appears, it's possible that you like let that animal energy, like spirit, into your body, and like you assume the energy of that, and it begins to move through you, and you're no longer just fully in yourself. And so I knew about that, and consequently I actively just blessed these insects, and I just said, you are creations of God. And that seemed to dispel. And subsequently, there was a really kind of tragic, deformed, somewhat insect-like, but really like a plagued kind of fly-like leper woman. Not really a leper, but sort of like that, who was approaching, and there was like fear in me, and I didn't know how to deal with like her presence. She was kind of like presenting to me, and in that moment I just blessed this entity. I blessed it, and you are a child of God, and like bless you. And suddenly like this avatar that I was afraid of became not so scary, and I was able to just like actually like give the person, like creature-like person, like a stroke, as a sign of affection. And then that like part was dispelled, So there's just a couple of instances that came up for me, but I think they really teach a lot about like basic level of energetic spiritual work that takes place in active engagement with this medicine. And boy, what a journey I am on, and what a journey yet to unfold with all of this. But by the grace of God, and by the wisdom of plant medicine, and by the devotion of healers and shamans and guides and brothers, sisters, family, by the grace of all of those things, I have experienced healing of the deepest wounds that I carried, and wounds which I felt to be irresolvable and irreconcilable, and left me really split. Those wounds made me, they were like Frodo in Lord of the Rings when he's struck by the Morgul blade. You know, some poison has struck him deep in his heart, and he can't go on fully with that there. And he needs a medicine that is beyond the common life medicine, the everyday medicine. He needs a really profoundly deep medicine. And so he goes to Rivendell, and he receives the elvish medicine. And all I can say is the healing center that I went to was a veritable Rivendell-like place. Which perhaps is a story for another day, but I definitely had an enormous amount of recognition around the Lord of the Rings, and various other like deep stories in our collective imaginary, and just realizing like those things are not just movies or books. They're actually like real in a meaningful sense. The stories that we hold, that hold us as a culture, the way that those stories emerge, the way that they're channeled through people, through creative visionaries like Tolkien or George Lucas. They are pulling things down from something like the imaginal or the collective imaginary, that are somehow real, and the degree to which those are pulled down actually brings those worlds closer to us, and they also reflect our own world. So yeah, Lord of the Rings is real, basically. All right, it's been quite a bit here, and by no means at all exhaustive of everything that has been moving through this pilgrim's body. But I think it's good to leave it there, and I thank you so much for listening to this transmission.